to sum up, Arne Slot saying that he would have been happy if he knew how many chances Liverpool would create in the match. And actually, Cody Gakpo had a higher XG than Manchester United as a team in that game, hit the post 3 times, but that they have to finish them better. But also that defensively, of the chances they did give up, they conceded a couple of goals, including one from a set piece or from a corner that led to the goal. And then he said, we just can't afford to be doing that.
Yeah, I think it was a really good interview, that, because when you lose a game of this magnitude, people get emotional. You know, even pundits, you know, supporters. And it probably is a good time for the manager to be measured. 4 defeats in a row. He's explained the game really well. If Liverpool put the majority of the chances away, they'd probably win the game. But the way the Premier League is style-wise this season, for everybody, set pieces is a big part of the game. Everybody's taken long throws this season. You know, set pieces galore. We look at Arsenal, the success they've had as well. And Liverpool just can't seem to cope at the moment. So we keep talking about new signings and integrating them in terms of actually the football Liverpool are playing. But the new signings that Liverpool have brought in, has it affected them set piece-wise as well? You know, the fullbacks are quite small. You know, there's no sort of great, you know, physical presence in there. Even if you play Havertz in midfield and McAllister as well, you've got to think set piece-wise as well. Is the team big enough? And maybe this is hurting Liverpool now, not just in terms of actually, you know, playing the football and getting players on the ball, but it looks like they're not coping at all well with set pieces. They can see last minute at Crystal Palace from a long throw as well. Another corner at Crystal Palace as well. So yeah, they're struggling, I think, with the style of the whole Premier League right now.
You mentioned the fact that it's a time for Arne Slot to be measured after 4 defeats in a row. But if you look at performances across the whole season, you were saying in the first game of the season against Bournemouth that there were worrying signs defensively for Liverpool from open play. Have they gone any way to fixing those? Do they still look as vulnerable in open play as you thought they were on that first day?
Oh, yeah, it hasn't changed. And I think a few weeks ago, I looked about Liverpool maybe going back to having Szoboszlai in the midfield and maybe Havertz coming out the team because he's more of an offensive number 10 than Szoboszlai. But Szoboszlai's played in that position in the last 2 games, you know, away at Chelsea, here against Manchester United today. And Liverpool are still conceding goals and conceding big chances. You know, you think of the chance Fernandes had in that first half as well. Manchester United should be 2-0 up in that situation. So there's, as we said before the game, I don't think it's one glaring problem. There's lots of things. New signings, not up to speed. But some of Liverpool's great players last season are playing nowhere near the level that they are and, you know, just making sort of errors. And you talk about Konate. He was brilliant today. I thought Konate had a great game. But then Van Dijk's nowhere near himself. I mean, he has a really poor game as well. So it's just, it's not quite happening for Liverpool right now. And I think, I've just mentioned on the podcast, actually, I think of
Where's that available to download? All your usual podcast places.
Exactly. But I think when the champions or a team, if you think of last season, on such a long run undefeated from the Nottingham Forest game, I think maybe to the Fulham game later in the season, almost feel invincible. And then this season, as soon as someone beats them, this run goes on of 4 games. I remember Manchester City last season had that run where you couldn't believe this was Manchester City. You feel a little bit like that with Liverpool. And I go back to a game I played in here 25 years ago or something, where the invincible team with Arsenal, the following season, once they'd lost 1 game, everyone thought, oh, maybe you can beat them. And they actually went on a run of sort of losing 4 or 5 games. So it's just one of those things that the rut that they're in right now, and they just, as the manager said, you know, they've got to get out of it quick. But it's probably, we're not going to see the best of Liverpool, I would say, till the second half of the season.
But that's why that's why I think a draw today. I know we praise them for gambling and winning, getting late goals. But on the back of 3 defeats, you're home to United and it's 1-1. Don't shy away from taking a point as well. I think just to stop the rot. I know 3 games for Liverpool was a lot. But there's a bit of arrogance in that, which is nothing wrong with that. When you're champions, you think there's a bit of a swagger. But also smell the game and go, there's danger here. That's why there's not no taking a point either. It's not the end of the world.
Jamie, just picking up on what Roy was saying about Liverpool coming back this season, he was saying earlier about, you know, coming back as champions and finding it harder. They've always been title challengers. They've always had teams coming in here, maybe sitting back against them. But to Jamie's point, do you think that they can scent blood a bit more this season? They feel that it's possible to get something?
Yeah, and I think a lot of clubs, a lot of teams will look at what Manchester United did today. They never once played out from the back from a goal kick. You see much lesser teams that aren't comfortable on the ball trying to do that, inviting pressure, losing the goal. I think they had a really good game plan. I think and they showed that against Liverpool today. In terms of, trying to maybe, a point isn't the worst result in the world. It wouldn't have been. If you look at what Arsenal did when they got that point against Manchester City, we were all talking about it after that, how they were celebrating, how happy they were. But then they go on a great run after that. They got a Newcastle win, and we all go, yeah, actually, at the time it didn't feel like a good point, but how good does it feel now? So Liverpool have just got to find some rhythm again. And everyone's going to be asking questions about his decisions, the players that are coming. That's inevitable. The next week or so, people are talking about, how's he going to fit Virtue in the team? How's he going to fit Isak, Ekitike into the team? What does he do about the right-back situation? How's the left-back looking? There's going to be lots of question marks, but you just got to be a little bit patient. He's very measured, the manager. He doesn't get too involved, doesn't get too high when they do well, doesn't get too low when they don't. And I think it might need a bit of that for now, because it's going to be a little bit of a struggle. It's going to be a difficult time because they've got some tough games. We were writing it down earlier on. I've got Brentford away, Villa at home, and then the Manchester City away. So they're games that you're looking at thinking they're not going to be easy. They're going to be challenged next week.
Champions League games, Carabao Cup game against Crystal Palace, and amongst all of that.
Well, we talk about set pieces. Jamie's mentioned it, how difficult they are now, and how big. You've got the ultimate test next week at Brentford away. So they're the challenges that they've got to have. So they've got to make sure they deal with them.
And with all the players they've brought in, I'm just trying to imagine how the manager and the staff at the training ground they're looking at. They have a lot of options, really, and sometimes that can be a problem. Also, when you've got brilliant options on the bench, you see him chopping and changing, and he is offensive, and I give him a thumbs up for gambling. But again, there's certain games, and you have it, the old sayings in football, if you can't win it, don't lose it. They've got to get back to that mindset of not giving up daft goals like they have done. That's the point he made at the end.
When you sort of won the title, and you're obviously lucky to win it loads of times, did you then, the second, when you have to do it again, is it like is it hard to get yourself going?
Yeah, there's obviously a different challenge, and obviously people look at you, but then you've obviously got a bit of a confidence about you that we've done it and we can hopefully do it again. And you've got that winning culture and that vibe going on. And again, people always thought about the team I was involved in, you always felt you'd go to the very end. And you always felt if anyone was going to win it, it was United and they'd be gambling. But there was plenty of games where we'd be trying to win again, but also we'd be looking going, everyone thinks we're going to go for it here, but we'll take a draw. There's certain games, I think you always have to smell it in the air. I think Liverpool should have smelled that today. And I know it's hard when you're at home and the fans are pushing you, it's on the television, everyone's building the game up. But when it's 1-1 and you've lost 3 in a row, there's nothing wrong with just bringing it back to basics. Go, listen, lads, we'd love to win it. We've got enough attacking players on the pitch. But defensively, you've got experienced 2 centre-halves going, yeah, listen, we've got 1 or 2 players who can try and win it, but make sure we don't lose it.
Do you think that's a hangover, though, from those seasons where City were pushing for 100 points, where Liverpool ran them close on 90-odd points in more than one season?
Well, yeah, they were obviously had good rhythm last year, particularly.
But when it felt that a draw was drop points, when you almost had to have a perfect season.
Yeah, no, obviously to win titles, it is about winning football matches, but I'm just on about if there's 5 or 10 minutes to go and you're up against teams like United today, especially if they're attacking players, Kelly, you smell it, you just feel it in the air going, I know everyone wants to, I was a midfielder and we'd have lads going forward, but I'd still be going, yeah, lads, Giggsy, Beck, you go for it. But don't worry, I'm sitting back here and I'm going to sit in front of my 2 centre-halves and we're still going to make sure we defend crosses or whatever. Because unless you do that, unless you do them basics right, you're not going to win football matches. So I just felt today at Liverpool, there was a time for them to go, with 5 or 10 minutes to go. We talk about that throw-in, and even that was a symbol of like, what are you doing? Just throw it down the line and we get up the pitch. Maybe a bit of arrogance and you can be too confident. And United are looking, going, I tell you, what happens when you're thinking that? United will be sniffing it and going, I think there's a chance here that we can win this game. And United haven't won here for 10 years, so you're giving them belief. You have to take that belief away from them. And again, go in that dressing room afterwards and be annoyed with a draw. Go in and go, lads, we need to do better. But it's a draw. It's something. Instead of going and going, hey, we can't be giving up goals like that. We said about their body language when it comes back in from Bruno. Players, 4 or 5 of them are kind of looking to run up the pitch as if they're playing at home to a championship team. Southampton came out 2 or 3 weeks ago and they got a few chances. They had a little bit of joy. I know they won the game, but it's still Man United here. And they still have very good attacking players. And all of a sudden you go, it's going out to Bruno and you're running out. But Bruno puts it in, Maguire's on the back post, just like some of the Palace players were on the back post, just like Chelsea were on the back post when they're breaking, going, we'll sniff a chance here.
That's what you just said there. You've probably looked at it a few times. The goal and the team defending the corner. But I go back to my worry about Liverpool at the start of the season. It's not so much all the attacking players, but if the mindset of everyone is always, we're going to be attacking, we've got this attacking play, we're going to be on the ball. People are always thinking about what happens when they're on the ball, and almost the defending bit becomes a bit like, do I have to? Do I have to do that? Do I have to track him back? Do I have to go and win a big header? I want to get on the ball. I want to play. We've got midfield players who all want to get on the ball. So I actually think sometimes Liverpool, now there's almost a mindset of not actually doing the dirty work. And you're talking about today, you know, getting that point. That was definitely more the case in the 2 away games at Chelsea, Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace battered Liverpool. They got a goal late on Liverpool. That's like, get out of there with your point. It's a tough place to go. Could have been 3-0 down at half-time. Great point. So away at Chelsea, got beat there last season. You got back to 1-1. You don't get beat. That's the thing that frustrates me in terms of the experience on the pitch and the players they have on the pitch. You've won, not just last season, but won numerous trophies over these last
Have they lost that pride in defending? We talk about teams that win titles. It's going, the foundations, obviously you need a top goalkeeper, be rock solid at the back. We look what Arsenal do now. But Liverpool looking as if going, do we need to do that bit? Because we've got so many options. We've got brilliant attacking players. They're always a goal threat again. They could have scored 4 or 5 today, but they're getting caught out a little bit, almost become a bit more humble. And don't forget what you got that bit of success. And that was being maybe rock solid at the back. You're going to give it 1 or 2 chances. But I think teams now are playing Liverpool, and now it's 4 games. They're going, mate, I think they're thinking we've got a chance.
Humble is exactly the word that
The
Van
problem
Dijk
is, though,
used.
Kelly, when you actually look at the team they end up with 3 defensive-minded players. Carragher, Konate and Virgil van Dijk. Everyone else on that pitch is always thinking a little bit like what Gakpo's thinking when that corner comes in. If we get the ball, we might score. When Roy mentions about, like, you know, when he was there and he'd be in a defensive midfield player, OK, you go, I'll sit here. That's not in Jones. He's not inclined to do that. Wirtz is not inclined to do that. You end up with everybody else, all the 4 players. Ekitike, obviously, Isak was off the pitch at the time. Frimpong's not that player. Everyone's trying to win the game. There was not one player that's really going, OK, if we lose it in that midfield, what happens next? And that's where they got...
Great example. If you look at Arsenal last night, Arsenal, for all how brilliant they are, and when you get to the top of the league and you're thinking your confidence is sky, you look at Arsenal, when they lose the ball, forget about what they're doing in possession. They've got really good players and they're brilliant at set pieces. It's what they're doing without the ball. They're hunting in packs. And they're like tactics are out the window. They're just going to close people down. They're not getting bogged down by anything else. So look at Arsenal's success at the moment. Still a lot to do for them. I know there's a long way to go. The bit of joy is coming from actually hunting the ball down, chasing it, pride, hunger. Have Liverpool lost that a little bit? I think they have.